down in the workshop today at last. It's been at least 3 days since I've been here because I've been traveling up to Auckland looking at a milling machine, that kind of thing. Today I have this very crude rough titanium blank which I plan to turn into a spinner by using this little sander. I think they call it a linisher. Now, funny thing, this kind of looks like a cheap little machine, but it's actually very good. Very good machine. Very, very solid and heavy duty, and not really sure what I'm telling you really. One thing I wanted to discuss on my drive into the workshop was there's a whole bunch of stuff on this board that doesn't really need to be there. I mean, look at this. People see like a blank whiteboard and they just have to kind of do stuff like draw all over it. Right, that can go. I did that. I can get rid of that one. I don't know what that is. Too bad. That can go, because there's something I want to talk to you very briefly about before we get onto the grinding and making this cool spinner, and that is the design of spinners. It's funny, maybe 6 weeks ago I had no interest in spinners at all. Like, I saw them, I didn't really think much of it, and one comment on YouTube, someone said, "You should make a spinner," and I thought, why not? So I started designing spinners. If you've been following my videos, you'll see like I started designing this one. I thought, right, that's it. And so I made a very sort of loose prototype, very rough prototype, should I say, and I was just like, oh, that doesn't feel right when I spin it. Like if I show you this one here, like I would spin it. It wasn't this one; it was an earlier model, and I was just like, oh, it's too long. I can't reach that, so I had to shorten it. And then it's like, oh, this angle in here isn't right. I have to change that. There's this circle area, and there's all these little things. So I adjusted, tweaked, and adjusted, tweaked, and adjusted, tweaked, and over and over. Like I've done dozens of prototypes now, dozens and dozens of hours of just sitting and spinning and just I'll sit for an hour just staring, flicking, going, right, that's okay, but it feels like this. You're like, is it just me that's putting like that much effort into the design of a spinner? I mean, I keep getting, I've got loads of interest. I get messages, emails, comments on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, like just, directly on my website about like, when are you releasing the spinner? And yes, it's taken a long time, but it's taken a lot of development, because I see people making these spinners and I'm like, initially I was just like, oh, that looks cool, that looks cool, that looks cool, but then I designed one that I thought kind of looked cool, but then I actually kind of made a rough prototype of it, like I said. I was like, oh, that doesn't feel good to fidget with. It doesn't feel like I can just go like this kind of thing, like you can see me doing now. It's just nice and comfortable. I don't have to think about it. And now that I've sort of walked the path of making all these prototypes and spending dozens of hours sort of testing and tweaking and trying things and not working and sort of going back to the drawing board, and I'm like, almost every spinner, I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but a lot of them look good, and I'm just like, well, that's gonna look terrible, that's gonna feel terrible on your finger, or you're never gonna be able to reach and flick that. You're not gonna be able to just sort of like let your mind kind of get lost and just sort of fidget in the background while you're watching TV or whatever you're doing, because it's got a sharp corner, it's got this, it's not got that. And yeah, I don't know, I think I'm just curious that there's so many spinners out there, and the market's growing, but people are designing them just to look good, I think, way more than anything else. It's kind of a rant, which is fair enough, but it's just what I was thinking on the way in. Don't get me wrong though, there's lots of spinners out there, and I see them and I'm like, that's going to be a good design. Actually, there's lots of spinners out there that are okay, and there's a small percentage that are like, that looks good. Like, I've seen a couple recently, I'm like, damn, that's going to spin so well, it's going to be, kind of feel good. Now, I mean, to give you an example of what I'm talking about, you see this spinner here? You see that little arc in there? That arc is a radius of, it's a diameter of 38 millimeters, which is 1.5 inches. So it's a radius of 15, 16, 19 millimeters. So it's a radius of 19 millimeters, which is 3/4 of an inch, I believe, radius. Is that right? Whatever, I'll keep it in millimeters, that way I know where I am. It's a 19 millimeter radius, and that's a bit of a sort of, fix it later. So I'll draw this for you. So let's say you have a spinner. This is your sort of very rough spinner outline. This is where you thing, and let's say, you know, you cut away that part, you cut away that part, you cut away that part, you cut away that part. So this is your kind of design here. Now you want this bit to be curved there. You want this to be cut out. Okay? So these, the radius of this, you know, this thing here. What I've found is like a good radius is roughly 19 millimeters. But to be honest, you can go, you know, you can go down to sort of maybe 15 or so, or you could maybe go up to maybe 20 or 21. I know you can't read that, but you know, so call it 20 millimeters radius. So 3/4, yeah, that is 3/4 of an inch roughly. I mean, that's the area that is sort of, it's like the sweet spot for in there, for getting your finger in there. You see my middle finger? And flicking it, getting the leverage to flick. So this spinner here, if you take a look at that, that's what this is. I actually experimented, in fact, and I went down to 36, I believe, for that. 36 diameter, which is 18 millimeters radius for in there. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this one sort of can flick with your index finger and middle finger. Right, I have done way too much talking. Whoa, standing on something there. Let's just get grinding and get making this spinner. Right, so it's kind of turning out better than I thought, because I'd only thought as far ahead as just, you know, just taking the sort of roughness from the water jet cutting off and not going any further. But I ended up beveling again, like I always do pretty much, but you know, I never planned to. And so I've still got a little bit, I've sanded the flats, I've sanded the corners and stuff. I've still got to go in there. But if you take a look at this, it's come out not too bad. I mean, it's very squarey, of course, but hopefully this is focusing pretty good for you. You know what? This is a little bit shadowy. If we come in front of the whiteboard, maybe it's even worse. That's a bit better. So you should see that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and sand, or should I say grind, inside there. Right, so two things. One, cleverly, and I don't know why I never thought of this before, I've put the camera against this big wall here, which is painted white, so you can see it's brighter and you can see things better. Now, it's clever because I did it, but it's stupid because I didn't do it earlier today, or any of the other 300 videos where I've been in the workshop and like not, oh, I'm awful close. There we go. 300 other videos. This will be video 303 in a row without missing a day, recording and uploading to YouTube, which is, you know, pat on the back for me, I think. Anyway, lots of light. That's the first thing. The second thing is I've just put the core in this. As you can see, I think it's come out pretty good, to be honest. I don't know what you think of that. At least the lighting's better. Holy moly. Wrestling with that for nearly a year now. What an idiot. Anyway. I've not even spun it yet. That's the first time I've spun it. There you go. So you're joining me with that. So, like I said, like if you look at my finger here, I don't know if you can see it, but my finger goes in there. So that's how you can see it there. So my finger is in there, and that's the radius I was talking about. That's that. I made it smaller on this one. You know, usually it's a 38mm diameter, sorry, so 19mm radius. I made it, I believe, 35 or 36 on this one. So that's the that's the diameter. So the radius is 17.5. So either 17 or 18 millimeters radius, and that's like, it works pretty well. Sorry about the way I'm flicking it. It looks like I'm doing something. It looks like I'm telling you to go somewhere. It's really not my intention. So let's do it with our index finger instead. So there we go. Now let's do some spinning. Now, time to basically just mess around with it and sort of play with it, just sort of on my own, and just see what it's like. I can already tell. It certainly feels it anyway, that four things is just too much. Like 3, the one I've been playing with recently, which is this one here, you know, like that definitely doesn't feel too busy. But this one here, it just feels like there's one too many spokes or arms, you know, one too many arms on it. It feels like when you stop it, your finger feels like it's getting tangled. Now, that may just be initially because I'm used to, you know, 2 arms and 3 arms. We'll see how it goes. That could, you know, that could change in the next half an hour or overnight when I've been playing with it and, you know, get a bit more of a feel. But, you know, so far I like it. It's a nice little simple thing. It's a real fidget spinner. It's not, you know, for speed or anything like that, because, you know, the weight isn't really distributed out sort of to the outside or anything. You know, when you spin it and stop it, it stops. I mean, some of them, like this one for instance, not so much, but when you spin it and stop it, you can feel the weight kind of going like that, because the weight is distributed sort of out to the ends here. You know, you can see the gap there, and it's distributed out to the ends. You know, almost the opposite with this. There's a little bit up at the end, but it's mostly in here, and the core is brass. which is temporary anyway. I'm going to make titanium cores myself. This is a one I bought from NTO Designs. So I just, you know, because I'm just using the water jet cutter, I'm just whacking this thing in every time, and you know, it works pretty good. So I think I just need to sort of fiddle around with this a bit more and sort of get back to you and let you know how it is, because I mean, I don't just make these for the sake of it. You know, I'm experimenting with, you know, radiuses in there, I'm experimenting with beveling, I'm experimenting with different shapes and sizes and weights. You know, I'm sort of taking it on board for the, you know, when I do actually produce spinners, you know, ones that will be sort of available to you. So I am interested in your feedback, if you've got any thoughts on this. My initial feedback personally is, I think 4 arms is just too much, but you know, maybe not. Other than that, it's a nice little fidget spinner, and I think that's me pretty much done for the day. I will leave you with a quote as always. It is by Bert Rotan, and he said, "Testing leads to failure, and failure leads to understanding."